Accept with Coca-Cola, Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury, and JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel. Cayman's bigger, better network.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees so fair. We're getting a late start this morning, but as you know, this is the Christmas season, so things are pretty busy. Lots of commercials, lots of announcements as well, so we ask you to bear with us while we navigate this extremely busy Christmas season right here on Radio Cayman. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to For the Record. Today is Friday, the 8th day of December 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We do hope and trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle. Please ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember, the life you save may just be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday, or if you've celebrated one over the past few days, a belated happy birthday to you as well. And to remind you that the For the Record birthday shout-outs brought to you by Pizza Boat. Pizza Boat, they're now open in Queens Court on West Bay Road, so we urge you to hop on board the Pizza Boat Express because they make pizza even more fun. You can have your pizza delivered, or you can pick it up. Simply call 949-0000 or order online via www.pizzaboat.ky. For those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to express our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing to you. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. This morning, again, it is that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord, at candw.ky. WhatsApp us 925-3261, where you can send us a text message or leave us a voice note, contents of which will be played during the course of the show. You can also call us on that number as well, 925-3261. You can follow us on YouTube. You do that by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. Don't forget, we're also on Facebook as well. So we want to look at the birthday shout-outs this morning, Miss Susan. Still nothing on this end. But we do have Miss Vernice Miles, who's celebrating her birthday. So big shout-out to Miss Vernice Miles. And several persons have shared that birthday greetings. This particular one is coming from your cousin, Ruth James, and family. She says, may your special day bring you lots of joy and happiness. May God continue to bless you with good health and many, many more years to enjoy. That's coming from Miss Ruth James. And Miss Trudy would like to send birthday greetings to her granddaughter, Amber McLaughlin, as well. Birthday greetings going out to Miss Amber McLaughlin, coming from Miss Trudy. And have some more coming through now. Here we go. Okay. Tomorrow, Tashina Rickfield celebrating her birthday tomorrow. Mr. George Powell celebrating his birthday tomorrow. And R.H. Barton, Mr. Richard Barton, celebrating his birthday tomorrow as well. Further down the line on Sunday the 10th, Mr. Robert Sutherland and Mr. Alvin Danielle celebrating a birthday as well. Let's find today's birthdays. Okay, we have Carrie Rolene Dilbert, who's celebrating her birthday. Alyssa Ebanks also celebrating a birthday, and Susan Matthews celebrating a birthday today. So we want to wish all of them a happy birthday as well. And to remind you that the For the Record birthday greetings are brought to you by Pizza Boat. They're now located in Queens Court on 7 Mile Road. We urge you to hop on board the Pizza Boat Express, because Pizza Boat, they make pizza even more fun. You can have your pizza delivered, or you can pick it up. Simply call 949-0000 or order online via www.pizzaboat.ky. We're going to take a commercial break. When I return, I will introduce my guest who's in the studio with me, but after the 8 o'clock news, we will have additional guests in the studio. We will be discussing the Orman Panton, the Distinguished lecture series at UCCI, and the subject of that discussion will be our national hero, Mr. Orman Panton. That discussion will take place with Dr. Steve McPhail, Mr. Roy Borden, Mr. Gilbert McLean, who's the chair of the Board of Governors at the UCCI, and President Emeritus and historian Mr. Roy Borden will be in the studio with us as well. Also in attendance will be Professor Livingston Smith, who is the incoming provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs and Workforce Education at UCCI. So folks, don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the historical vignette series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Captain Harris L. Bodden,
CPM, 1888 to 1972.
Like most early Caymanians, Captain Harris sought a livelihood on the high seas, completing his years there as a master mariner. In 1926, he retired from sea and, with a young family to provide for, became a police officer. For most of his career, he was the lone law officer on Cayman Brac. During his many years of service, in addition to keeping the peace, Captain Harris served as customs officer, postmaster for the eastern sections of Cayman Brac, bailiff, prison officer and guard, census taker, and lighthouse keeper, in all of which he was ably supported by his wife, Miss Ella Nee Jackson, and their 6 children. In the absence of a police car, he carried out his patrols on a bicycle. During the aftermath of the 1932 hurricane, he distributed overseas donations of food, clothing, and medication, and arranged burials for the dead. Captain Harris was a man of stature who carried himself with authority, yet dispensed justice with kindness, sympathy, and wisdom.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
'Twas the days before Christmas in Digicel stores near and far. Stockings were hung with the best tweenie deals by far. A 27-day bundle, it was quite an appeal. With 2 gigabytes any use data, it made Roblox so real. YouTube and Disney Plus, oh what a delight. Boys and girls were entertained from morning till night. Endless messaging, a connection so dear. Staying in touch with parents, oh what a cheer. Visit a Digicel store today, where dreams come true this holiday season.
I love Pizza Boat. It's yummy.
It has my two favorite things combined, cheese and boats.
Pizza Boat makes pizza way more fun.
Hop on board the Pizza Boat Express. Kids, now Pizza Boat makes pizza even more fun. Lunch or dinner, let Pizza Boat bring the fun. Pizza Boat, a Cayman twist to pizza, bringing fusion ingredients from all over the globe to give you locally inspired fresh pizzas all day, every day. Pizza Boat, now open in Queens Court on West Bay Road. Pick up or delivery 949-0000 or order online www.pizzaboat.ky.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In about 8 minutes' time, we're going to go to our 8 o'clock news. After the news, then we will have those individuals. Dr. Steve McField is already in the studio with us, and we will have Mr. Smith, Mr. Borden, and Mr. McLean in the studio with us. And hopefully we can be joined also by Miss Theresa Pitcairn, who's flying back, but she hopefully will join us by telephone once she is in a position to do so. So before I go over to Dr. Steve McField, we have another birthday shout out here, and this one is going out to Miss Mary Miles. Her birthday is on Sunday, the 10th of December. So birthday greetings are going out to her from her husband, Mr. Bunny Miles, children Ruth Ann, Chris, Donna, Tiffany, sons-in-law Greg, Julian, and Kirby, grandchildren Aaron, Taj, Tori, Omari, Kai, and Nathan. I hope I'm reading this for the right day now. Yeah. And from other family members and friends. And then we also have birthday greetings going out to Miss Mary Miles' grandson, Taj Lewis. He's in the United Kingdom, and the birthday greetings are coming from his nanny and papa, Mary and Bunny Miles, and the entire family. Also, Brianna McCoy from Aunt Mary and family, and Miss Vernice Miles from Mary and Bunny as well. And then, of course, we have Mr. Fernando, the D's missing out there. Fernando McLaughlin celebrating his birthday today as well. So happy birthday to Mr. Fernando McLaughlin as well. So in the studio with me, we have Dr. Steve McField. Doc, we just have, about enough time to say good morning and hello. But we also want to recognize the fact that today, the state opening of our parliament will take place. We will have the throne speech, which will be delivered by Her Excellency, the Governor, and we will have the budget address as well. And my understanding also is that there will be some sort of strategic policy statement that may be delivered, as well. Since the change of governments, that strategy may have been changed somewhat, and we will know exactly what those changes are, what direction it will take as well. I have been, they have shared the program, and it lists all of the persons involved: Her Majesty, the King's representative, the Speaker, the Premier, the Leader of the Opposition, ministers and members of Cabinet, elected members of Parliament, parliamentary secretaries, the members of the government, members of the opposition. I see where Honorable G. Wayne Panton is listed as a member of the government. A little curious to know where he will be sitting, whether or not he will be sitting on the government side or on the other side, not necessarily with the opposition, but on the side where the opposition is. It'll be interesting to see, what happens with that. And then, of course, we anxiously look forward to his contribution, to the throne speech and the budget as well. It'll be interesting to see what he has to say. I know in the U.S., I said if I were Kevin McCarthy, I would have resigned after that whole speaker fiasco. After 15 attempts to become speaker, and then in 8 months' time, you kicked out. So we see now where he has announced that come the end of the year, he will no longer be in the Congress. He's resigning as well.
Yeah, well, if Mr. Panton is still a member of the government, you would expect him to sit on the government backbench as a member of the elected government. You wouldn't expect him to sit on the opposition side of the House if he's a member of the government. He would be on their backbench. It would be very interesting to see where he sits today when Parliament convenes. I am not sure where he will be sitting, but if your information is that he's still a member of the government, then he would expect him to sit on their backbench to support them, to support the government.
Well, what this program says members of, so it lists all of the elected members of Parliament. It lists the ministers. It lists the parliamentary secretaries, Honourable Heather D. Bawden, Honourable Dr. It should be Honourable Dr. McKeeva Bush, Mr. Bernard Bush, as the parliamentary secretaries, and then after that, member of government, Honourable G. Wayne Panton. Then it goes on to list the members of the opposition.
Yes.
So this is almost like an order of precedence where the government is listed first and then the opposition after.
So you expect them, Mr. Panton, to be on the government backbench then, behind the government.
Right.
Yes, that's where you expect him to be.
But I am told that may not necessarily happen. I'm told that. I'm not sure if that is correct. That's why I say we wait with bated breath to see exactly what will occur.
Well, if he's not with the government, then he would have to be against the government. He would have to be in opposition to the government, and therefore he will be sitting on the opposition bench.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that. It's an adversarial. It's an adversarial system.
Do we know who makes that decision? Who arrives at that decision? The individual says, "I'm a supporter of the government," so he would be on that side.
Well, it would depend. It would depends if he has the consent of the majority of them that he's still one of them.
Yeah.
You could be expelled by the government, or you can leave the government. That's the way it is. You could be expelled by the government. In those cases, the whip, you can have the whip withdrawn from you, or you could walk away from the government, and then you would be in the opposition to the government, not necessarily belong to the opposition party.
Yeah. Well, if anyone out there knows what's going to happen, just send me a WhatsApp message. Please, I won't reveal my source at all, but very, very curious. Folks, top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Good morning, and studio time now is 8 o'clock, brought to you with the kind compliments of Foster's.
Grab a card. It's the 30K Jolly Grocery Giveaway at Foster's. This Christmas, we're spreading some holly jolly cheer by filling one lucky shopper's cart with $10,000 worth of groceries. Just purchase any 2 specially marked products from now until December 23rd for a chance to win your share of 30K worth of groceries. Go to fosters.ky/jolly for more info. Thanks to Waitrose, Quaker, Frito-Lay, Garnier, Certified Angus Beef, and Sun City. Have a holly jolly Christmas at Foster's.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Cayman sees its 4th homicide of the year after a man is shot to death in East End Thursday night. 911 confirmed the fatal shooting to Radio Cayman this morning, adding that the incident took place around 10 p.m. No other injuries were reported. Make sure to stay with Radio Cayman as we follow this developing story. The throne's speech and budget address are taking place later this morning, with the governor and members of parliament kicking off proceedings around 10 a.m. You'll be able to listen live right here on Radio Cayman, so make sure to keep it locked. At Wednesday's National Conservation Council meeting, members got a brief on this year's Climate Change Committee working paper, which outlined local efforts to tackle the issue this year. Speaking on behalf of a committee member who's currently attending the COP28 event in the United Arab Emirates, the Department of Environment's Tim Austin told the board the revised draft climate change policy is back in the hands of Cabinet after an extensive public consultation campaign. Other highlights, Cayman's recent hosting of this year's Spectrum Conference,
which was around shaping financial services. The National Trust were instrumental in introducing a short film called Save Our Wild Isles, Banking on a Wilder Tomorrow, which explored the relationship between financial and economic systems and biodiversity loss and what can be done to reduce the impact. So then sat on a panel and discussed a lot of the environmental, social and governance factors that might be of use in the financial sector and how they might relate to Cayman.
The paper also updated progress being made towards the UK's ratification of the Paris Agreement to the Cayman Islands. This is also in the hands of Cabinet now, awaiting a decision. And the Scholarship Secretariat wraps up a successful visit to the BRAC. Secretariat Manager Dr. Sherry Smith tells Radio Cayman the presentation at Cayman BRAC Layman East Scott High School provided an opportunity to share details about opportunities for funding further education.
The purpose of the presentation was to give persons who are interested in overseas scholarships details on the current online application process, to provide information on areas that potential candidates would need to take into consideration.
Along with highlighting specifics such as the types of documents needed, deadlines, and processes, Dr. Smith says there was also a focus on some of the bigger picture aspects, such as researching universities and degree programs, as well as costs, budgets, and long-term goals and objectives of the students.
It's really a pleasure for us to be able to present to the BRAC community and to be able to share information and give them an opportunity to have that face-to-face interaction and be able to ask questions and see firsthand what the scholarship offerings are.
The overseas scholarship application process is open now until January 31st. For more information, head to moescholarships.gov.ky. And drivers should plan for potential delays this weekend as the National Roads Authority works on a section of Linford-Pearson Highway between the Agnes Roundabout and the Bobby Thompson Roundabout. This will be closed to both eastbound and westbound traffic between 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Sunday. There will be diversions in place, and motorists are asked to try to avoid the area by using Crew Road as an alternative. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which takes us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller.
BBC News with Moira Alderson. The Palestinian Health Ministry in the occupied West Bank says 6 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces in an operation at the Al-Farah refugee camp north of Nablus. It's believed some of those killed were members of a militant group known as the Al-Farah Brigade. Hamas says an Israeli soldier who'd been held hostage in Gaza has been killed in a clash between its fighters and Israeli special forces who were conducting a rescue operation. The US Embassy in Baghdad has been attacked by more than a dozen rockets, though no injuries have been reported. It said a militia group aligned with Iran is believed to have been behind the incident. Vladimir Putin has announced that he will stand for re-election as Russian president when his term ends next year. The Kremlin's official spokesman said that an astonishing number of people wanted Mr. Putin to continue for what would be a 5th term in office. Around 250 South Sudanese soldiers have left the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. President Felix Tshisekedi complained the regional force was ineffective in combating the M23 rebel group. An Indian opposition MP has been kicked out of Parliament after being accused of corruption. Mahua Moitra denies the charge of accepting bribes in exchange for asking questions about the Adani Group.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
The Lions Club of Grand Cayman has been proudly serving the community for over 5 decades. Together, we have supported site screenings, Christmas deliveries, education, and restoration projects. It has been a stressful year for many, so please use this time to rejuvenate. This Christmas season, enjoy the time that you spend with your family and loved ones. On behalf of the President and members of the Lions Club of Grand Cayman, have a very Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year. Stay safe, and remember, don't drink and drive.
Hey! This Christmas is all about you. Yeah, boy. Flow brings the joy and better value.
With daily prizes of iPhones, iPads, laptop, and gift vouchers this Christmas when you sign up for broadband. Pay your bill on time and in full, or activate a 30-day prepaid plan.
This Christmas is all about you. I'm telling you, boy. Flow brings the joy and better value.
Flow, connecting hearts and homes this Christmas. Visit discoverflow.co for more details. Conditions apply.
Flow brings the joy and better value.
Tis the season. Take the pledge, drive safe, drive sober. Arrive alive, Cayman. Let's all have a safe and happy holiday season. This message is brought to you by the National Road Council, Compass Media, the RCIPS, and Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 82 degrees. Relative humidity is 82%. The barometric pressure is 29.99 inches and falling. The wind is east at 6 knots. Overnight low temperature was 79 degrees. Synopsis indicate fresh northeast winds with rough seas and isolated showers are expected for the next 24 hours in association with a dissipating stationary front southeast of the Cayman area. Satellite images show multi-level clouds spreading across the Cayman area associated with the front. The forecast for the Cayman Islands for today and tonight, calling for cloudy skies with a 40% chance of showers. Temperatures today will be in the mid-80s and will fall to the upper 70s tonight. Winds will be east to northeast at 15 to 20 knots, and seas will be rough with wave heights of 4 to 6 feet. Small craft should exercise caution over open seas for today and tonight as well. Low tide will be this afternoon at 1:22, high tide this evening at 6:15. The sun will set this evening at 5:46 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:48. And the outlook is calling for a decrease in cloudiness and showers from tomorrow afternoon as the moisture from the frontal boundary dissipates. Light to moderate winds and seas are thereafter expected as the pressure gradient weakens across the Cayman area. That's the very latest on your weather report.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you want to go scuba diving on your vacation, don't bedazzle your wetsuit. And you think you look great, but what you don't realize is that you look like a shiny, scaly fish. And it won't take long for a shark to notice you. Next thing you know, you're busting out every karate move you got. But if you're smart, you'll have CG medical insurance and get airlifted out to the closest hospital.
Get coverage for emergency evacuations. CG Britcay. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong series. The Cayman Strong series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking. Change your life. Developing the giver's mindset can bolster any relationship.
As motivational speaker Tony Robbins said, some of the biggest challenges in relationships come from the fact that most people enter a relationship in order to get something. They're trying to find someone who's going to make them feel good. In reality, the only way a relationship will last is if you see a relationship as a place that you go to give and not only a place that you go to take.
Change your thinking. Change your life.
Radio Cayman's Cayman Strong series was brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
And by National Road Safety. Be empowered. Help make our roads safe. Take the road to zero. Say no more to road fatalities in 2024.
Top of the morning to you. Let's take a look at what's happening on our roads. Traffic is busy on the Linford Pearson Highway. Expect some delays as you head on down to Georgetown. And coming off of Bobby Thompson Way, steady traffic as well. Off of Crew Road, traffic is steady heading to Georgetown, and eastbound traffic on Crew Road is light to moderate, and same for Owen Roberts Drive, light to moderate traffic flow. As we look to Bobby Thompson Way, steady traffic, and continuing on to Huldah Avenue on the Westway Road and for the Ritz, traffic is moderate in both directions. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue flowing at a good pace. If you've seen accidents or incidents, please give us a call here at Radio Cayman 949-6990. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll give you another traffic report.
Speeding is the highest cause of fatalities on Cayman's roads.
Brother, watch how fast my new car goes. Got it.
But what if
he hadn't been speeding?
his friends hadn't been encouraging him?
What if we all just took the time to slow down and think? What if, as a community, we rose to the challenge of keeping our roads safe?
What if we all walked the road to zero
and decided no more in 2024?
It's game time, Subway fans. We're upping our sub game with the all-new Subway Series menu, an all-star lineup of 6 delicious recipes. Just order by name or number and we'll do the rest. Whether you're catching a quick lunch or just need a tasty victory, the Subway Series menu is coming in clutch. Subway Series, easy to order, hard to resist. Try it today, only at Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
And by National Road Safety. Be empowered. Help make our roads safe. Take the road to zero. Say no more to road fatalities in 2024.
Each one of us is different, and so are our health needs. Health City's executive health checks are packaged for you as an individual, including optional add-ons tailored to your health journey. We have a variety of health checks to suit your age, gender, lifestyle, and family medical history. Visit healthcity.ky to find the health check package that suits you best and book your Health City health check today. At Health City, we know healthy looks different on everyone.
Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise its customers and the motoring public of wastewater infrastructure upgrade works on the intersection of West Bay Road and Canal Point Drive adjacent to the Strand. These works are anticipated to last for 3 to 4 weeks. During this time, Access to the southbound lane along Westfield Road will be somewhat but not entirely restricted. Traffic control measures will be in place to maintain two-way traffic throughout the works. Traffic signs will be in place in the general vicinity of the works. All motorists are asked to drive with caution. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of its customers and the public as it upgrades its wastewater infrastructure and do apologize for any inconvenience caused.
Radio K-Man Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio. Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, dancehall, urban gospel. The Super Jam Show is
brought to you by these kind sponsors.
The Cayman Islands Football Association, SIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Cayman Insurance Center.
Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets. Call me today, Michael Webster, at 925-5433.
UWI Open Campus, on-site, online, and on demand.
Visit open.uwi.edu. Call them today at 946-8322.
Super Jam.
Also brought to you by
Cayman Airways. Call them at 949-2311 to book your non-stop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
Also brought to you by Superior Auto Center. Do it right the first time with Superior Auto.
949-9570
or 525-9571.
Superior Auto. They keep your car in tune.
Super Jam.
Also brought to you by
Yum School Lunch Program. Now available at selected private and public schools across Grand Cayman.
The #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio.
Super Jam.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have such a distinguished panel in the studio with me this morning, consisting of Dr. Steve McPhail, President Emeritus and Historian, Mr. Roy Bawden, Mr. Gilbert McLean, who's the chair of the Board of Governors of UCCI, is unable to be in the studio, but we may link up with him by telephone as well. And also in the studio with me, Professor Livingston Smith, who is the incoming provost and vice president of academic affairs and workforce education at UCCI. The panel here this morning will be discussing the contribution of our national hero, Mr. Orman Panton, to the development, his contributions to the development of the Cayman Islands. I'm going to pass the mic over to Professor Livingston Smith to get him to get the conversation rolling.
Thank you so much, OC. I'm delighted to be here and to talk about the UCCI Distinguished Lecture Series, which is under the distinguished patronage of the chair of the Board of Governors. And the idea of this lecture series is to bring to the UCCI campus scholars of the highest caliber from academia, business, the sciences, to examine pertinent issues and share their scholarship and experience, not only with the university community, but also the wider Cayman public. So we believe, OC, that there are many important Caymanians who have made tremendous contributions to the development of these islands, but they have not been constantly celebrated. In no time they are forgotten, which is extremely something not to really allow to happen. So we want to educate the Caymanian public about some of these persons, and in doing that, we're also talking about Cayman history, its culture, its identity. We're talking about how these persons made meaningful contributions to the Cayman Islands. Our objective, OC, is to remind young Caymanians about who these persons were, their contributions, to delve into the rich legacy of Cayman's history, so that persons know that the society has evolved into what it is today because of the contribution of these persons. So for this year, for the first lecture, it's going to be called the Orman Panton Inaugural Lecture.
Okay.
And It will be January 18th at 6 p.m. at UCCI. And the distinguished lecturer will be Professor Nathan Connolly. And Professor Connolly is the Herbert Baxter Adams Associate Professor of History at Johns Hopkins University. And he will speak on the topic, Letters from the Ancestors, Family History, Political Economy, and the Future of the Cayman Islands. Now, this professor has command background, hence the Connolly, but he has done extremely well at Johns Hopkins. In fact, I was looking at some of his books, one of which is Black Capitalism and the American Economy. And this book that he wrote covers the account of black economic success in America and how that entire period of immigration shaped the way Americans and immigrants understood the possibilities offered by capitalism in the USA. He has a book that his first book was so good, entitled "A World More Concrete: Real Estate and the Remaking of Jim Crow South Florida." This book received the Urban History Association Award as the best book in the field. All right, Professor Connolly also directs the Racism, Immigration, and Citizenship program at Johns Hopkins University. It's an honor to have him come to deliver this lecture. So what we are interested in is to have a public education around Orman Panton, around the unmistakably pivotal role he played in the Cayman Islands. And I must say from now, before we hear from the real experts on Orman Panton, there's a book out on Panton written by David Martin entitled A Special Son, A Unique and Gripping Life, which is a biography of Orman Panton. But this book is not just a biography of Orman Panton, I believe, having read it more than once. It's a book that when one reads it, one gets an understanding of Cayman history, its early political development, the West Indian Federation, the idea of how political parties really started in Cayman, because his party, in my mind, was really the first real party in terms of, and what it did. And the early economy. So this book is quite a sweep, and you get an idea as to the person of Panton, his passion, his intellect, and all of that. So we are printing 100 copies of this book. So the first 100
go like hotcake.
The first 100 persons to come to the lecture will get a free copy of this book. All right. So again, before I turn it over, there's also an essay competition associated with this lecture. I'll come back to that later on. And I'm very delighted to say that the Ministry of Education has really sponsored the entire idea, and so we are engaging in a public education around Panton. And then later on, of course, we have other persons coming up. Ms. Lassie later on, the arts and the economy, maybe somebody else, that kind of thing. But it's going to be an ongoing public education so that nobody can say they don't know about these things.
Okay. I have a question about the Distinguished lecture series. Does it always involve persons who have passed on, or do you also feature persons who are still alive? I mean, with this book, A Special Son, we're extremely fortunate because Dave Martins had the opportunity to directly talk and interview Mr. Orman. And so much can be lost when we wait until the person has passed on, before we recognize them and before we get them to tell their story in their own words.
Excellent. The lecture series has been reshaped for this particular time, just to have it this way now.
Yeah.
But previously, it covered a wide range of topics. For example, we brought here the Prime Minister of Ralph Gonzalez to talk about issues to do with
St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Precisely, with security or issues to do with corruption. But just for this time, we thought we would ground the discussion by utilizing a Caymanian name of distinction, so we could explore in terms of education, some of these issues. So even though it's called the Orman Panton lecture, the lecture is not like a lecture just on Mr. Panton himself, a lecture around the issues, around big issues that he would have been involved in, hence the idea that he's talking about in this lecture. But yes, the next one I mentioned is going to be around Miss Lassie.
Okay.
So it's going to be around the arts. All right. So it will be later on. It'll be around the economy. Maybe Mr. Vassal Johnson, things like that. But we want to go around so that people don't forget these important names. That's essentially it, right?
Certainly. Well, let's have President Emeritus, Mr. Roy Borden, chip in on the conversation. Good morning, sir. Welcome to For the Record. Good to have you in the studio rather than on the other end of the phone line.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Thanks for being here. I feel really good. I feel elated. You know, I remember, Mr. Ormond, I always enjoy listening to my good friend, colleague, Dr. McField, because I love how he gets animated and elated. But I remember Mr. Ormond well and the National Democratic Party, and particularly so because one of his close supporters, one of his henchmen, I would call him then, was Anton Borden, who is a close cousin of mine. And I remember Anton getting involved. I remember Miss Evelyn Wood, because Mr. Ormond made history in many aspects of Cayman political life. His party was the first party to field a successful woman candidate in the late Evelyn Wood. But I remember something else about his party. Mr. Ormond, the National Democratic Party issued cards, membership cards, to the members of the party, and the membership cost 1 shilling. I remember my father having one, and I was searching the stuff that he left, but I couldn't find it. Man, if I could find that would be a treasure. Mm-hmm. But what I remember of Mr. Ormond's party when he came to Borden Town, he had a vast following. Everyone would turn out. He was like a cult hero. Mm-hmm. And he really was, a man before his time, an eloquent speaker, gripping speaker, and he was a man of the masses. I remember people in Borden Town who were not really interested in politics prior to that getting involved. And even as a youngster, I was excited by the crowds. He used to pass through on a truck, because he brought some supporters from Georgetown. Yeah, those were heady times.
Okay, we're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll enter that commercial break with this. We will follow Orman Panton. We will follow Orman Panton. We will follow Orman Panton till we die. And that was when Caymanians by the hundreds would go out to his meetings and do their cheering as well. Folks, please stay tuned. When we return, we will hear from Dr. Steve McField, talking about our national hero, Orman Lorda Panton, OBE. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
Jingle all the way into the season of incredible savings and wish granting with Digicel. This Christmas, get 25% off your Prime Bundle plan or postpaid bill for the next 6 months. With plans featuring social data, entertainment data, and more, Digicel keeps you connected and entertained all season long. But here's the real magic. Digicel could make your Christmas wish come true. Win a prize of your choice, from getting your rent paid to a new laptop or even a brand new car. Visit a Digicel store today, where dreams come true this holiday season.
Kirk Freeport's annual $40,000 Christmas sweepstakes is back once again. Simply spend $100 at your favorite Kirk Freeport store to enter to win one of 3 $5,000 cash prizes, one of 5 $1,000 cash prizes, and loads of other great prizes throughout December. And of course, the one you're all waiting for, the Rolex watch prize draw for all entries will be held on January 5th. All purchases of $100 at any Kirk Freeport store before Christmas Eve qualify for all remaining prize draws. Full details on kirkfreeport.com. Merry Christmas from everyone at Kirk Freeport.
Santa says ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho! Don't miss your chance to win big this holiday season with the Rubis Pure Joy promotion. Win $30,000 to pay your bills.
Merry Christmas!
Each time you top up your tank with $25 of fuel or merchandise from Jose's 24-hour food mart, you earn another stamp. Collect 6 stamps and you're entered to win a lot of awesome prizes. You could be the lucky winner of $30,000 to pay your 2024 bills. Don't forget to share the Christmas spirit with gift certificates your loved ones can use at Reflections, Liquor for Less, Hemp and Tobacco, Food for Less, or Jose's Rubis. Now open 24 hours a day to serve you.
Merry Christmas!
'Tis the season at Vigoro, and we've got all your festive favorites. From Christmas ornaments to decorations, succulents to ceramics. We've got gifts and more. Blooms, orchids, mobiles, garden accessories, furniture, even fairy gardens for the little ones. Make it a Vigoro Christmas with a gift that will be treasured forever. Both garden centers will be open on Christmas Eve till 5 p.m. Merry Christmas from Vigoro.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Dr. Steve McPhail, Professor Livingston Smith, President Emeritus of UCCI, Mr. Roy Borden, and on the telephone line we have Ms. Teresa Pitcairn. We're talking about the Distinguished Lecture Series at UCCI and this special discussion about the life and accomplishments and contributions of our national hero, Orman Panton, OBE. So we're going to welcome Ms. Teresa into the conversation. Good morning, Ms. Teresa. Welcome to For the Record. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, my team that's there, and good morning to the wider Caymanian community. Sincerest apologies for jumping on so late, but this was a conversation, obviously, that I could not miss out on. And I'd like to thank you for inviting me to be a part of this conversation. Liv, giving you a huge shout out. I know we have OC. Liv has me up at 4 and 5, sending me all kinds of crazy messages. When he's asking me to reach out to OC or other talks, I say to myself, Livingston thinks that I'm his secretary. But on a more somber note, this gentleman called Mr. Orman as we know him. What an amazing human being. And what I'm sure Liv will have described what we're trying to do, working with UCCI with the lecture series and so on. But I would like our youngsters to know who this mammoth of a person was. and for me, I'd like to take a different look at him. In as much as he has achieved so much, I want to know who is the individual. In fact, his youngest son, Kennedy Panton, he and I went to school together, and I've been in conversations with him about what was it like being his son, being the youngest son. What lenses did they view their dad through? How did he impact them? How was his journey in politics? How that impacted them? And I raise these questions because my own kids have watched me travail some of the challenges in Cayman, and I certainly know what it's like to be that one person with the mark of Cain on your forehead, where you're different, and you're different. Why? Because you ask questions, because you don't necessarily engage in certain spineless behavior. I would like the Caymanian community, especially our children with these essays that we're going to invite them to write, to see this person, to see that he was a part of us. He was, people, some of the adjectives that people use to describe him, that he was ill-tempered, that he was hostile, that he was stubborn. But the man that I knew, and Steve will tell you, he introduced him to me when I was in law school, and more frequently when I used to encounter certain challenges in a previous life, in a previous career. And Steve would say, I need to let you see that it's not just Roy Bawden and myself or Gilbert McLean that have gone through this. There are other persons even before us that had this experience. So the person that I see is this principled mammoth, OC. And before I eat up all the oxygen, I'll just leave you with this comment and then invite my other colleagues to engage. When I thought about this from an academic perspective, it forced me to go back to my first year at York University when I was doing my degree in political science. And I thought of the whole Socratic idea of parrhesia. And, it's a sort of a commitment to questioning that requires relentless self-examination and a critique of institutions of authority, motivated by an endless quest for intellectual integrity and moral consistency. This is what parrhesia is. It unsettles, it unnerves, it unhouses people from their uncritical sleepwalking, which is where I kind of see us trapped today. And I think that by excavating some of the things that Mr. Orman was involved with, looking at his childhood, when he was unafraid, and he was a little guy, he was a small little person. But even at 5 and 6, when, people were bullying him, he was relentless. And as his son, both Dwight and Kennedy has said to me, he was just a very principled man. And I'll just leave that and throw that out there as I just kind of sashay into this conversation.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Ms. T. Doc, I'm going to throw the mic over to you. We know that you had a vast amount of interaction with Mr. Panton, Mr. Orman.
Well, you may say that I am one of the last living disciples of Mr. Orman. I was there from the beginning. O.L. Panton's career started in the vestry. He was a vestryman, and he was the youngest person elected to the vestry. I think 21 or 22. Not 20 was 20, 21 or 22. And
he was in there with his father.
With
was
his
in
father,
there at the same
yes,
time,
and
right?
his uncles,
Mm-hmm.
and his uncles, and all of those people. And he was in the vestry for a whole year without speaking. And he told me that when he started to speak, they couldn't shut him up. And he was one of the people who transited from the vestry into the legislature in 1959. 1959, when we got the new constitution, he was one of the people that went over. Remember, there were 40-something vestrymen, right. and then that changed. Well, but OL's actually rise to prominence was in the early 1960s, after he had formed the National Democratic Party, and after Jamaica had left the Caribbean Federation, and the governor came down from Jamaica with his entourage, Sangster and all of those people, and they had a meeting in the Old Town Hall on the 18th and 19th of January 1962, when Governor Blackburn told the people that Jamaica was going into independence that year on the 6th of August. They were going to gain their independence, and that Cayman, Jamaica was offering, because remember now, Cayman was never a crown colony. Cayman was always a dependency of Jamaica from 1863 until 1962. When the Cayman Act in 1963 drove us from being independent into Jamaica, and the Cayman Act gave Jamaica legislature the power to make laws for the good governance of Cayman Islands, and the governor of Jamaica became the governor of Cayman. So, the Jamaica governor told us that they were offering us full internal self-government with a chief minister, lieutenant governor, the cabinet, and so forth. And that he explained the pros and cons of it, and he said we could do that, or we could opt to be a crown colony, being run directly from Britain. And the debate was 2 days, over the 2 days, and the person who actually changed the whole history of Cayman in 1962 was a man called Dr. Roy McTaggart. At the end of the debate, before they put the vote, all the people outside with loudspeakers outside the town hall, because the town hall could not hold all the people that came in the islands, chairs were all the way up to the library, out in the yard with loudspeakers, while the people made their presentation. And Dr. Roy put it this way to the people. He deliberately changed the narrative. And what he told the people, if we accepted full internal self-government, that we were going into independence with Jamaica, which was a blatant lie. Because what the governor had said, the only two things that prevented us from full internal self-government was international affairs offices around the world that we needed, and protection and army. And Jamaica would provide those two things for us for £20,000 a year. That's what Jamaica was offering us. But Dr. Roy said, you know what? If you go with national bulk and you get a call for 5 men, Jamaica was going to ask for 3 of them to be Jamaicans. And Jamaican was going to have to issue our passports. We were not going into independence with Jamaica. Jamaica was offering us full internal self-government, and Mr. Orman had been fighting for that all his life, because he wanted. He said if we had governed ourselves from 1831 to 1963, we had run our own affairs ourselves. We could continue doing that on our own. And he was the proponent of internal self-government, and the conspiracy came against him. Dr. Roy McTaggart, his own uncle, and a man called Jack Rose, who saw it. Mr. Orman Panton won the election that year. There were 12 seats in the assembly. He won 7 seats out of the 12. And Jack Rose, of course, he had nomination candidates then and elected candidates. Mr. Orman was head of the party, won the election, was supposed to be the new chief minister, and never got into executive council.
Right. Yep.
Because
they conspired.
They conspired against him. Even his deputy.
Yeah.
And you know who his deputy was? Warren Conley.
Yes. Yeah.
They conspired against him to keep him out. And one of the reasons for that is because the establishment never accepted Mr. Orman as being white. And Mr. Orman never accepted as being a white person either. Mr. Orman's grandfather was colored, came from Calabar. J.C. Panton came to Cayman from Calabar and had married his father had married an African woman and came here and they sort of whitened their family by got married into the Bordens and so forth and so forth. But Mr. Orman always thought himself as being a colored man. And Mr. Orman championed the cause of the colored people and the oppressed people in Cayman and the segregated people, because Cayman was the fullest segregated country in those days when Mr. Orman came. And the other antagonist Mr. Orman had was a man called Commissioner Gerard.
And we'll hear some stories about,
stories about
at that point in time. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we have one of our listeners who has posed a question and said, what is the present lasting effect of Mr. Panton's life, the lasting effect? And I would just, offer this. We have heard Dr. Macfield talk about, the fact that in the 1960s, mid-1960s, that is where the divergence came.
That's right.
For the Cayman Islands as well. So we saw where he was taking us when he was unable to do that. We saw where we went from there. So I'm extremely thankful for the person who sent this question, and I will ask my panelists here to respond to it when we return from this commercial break. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
It's Santa here. Join me and my elves for the Coca-Cola Christmas Truck Parade on Tuesday, 12th December. It's Grand Cayman's cheeriest Christmas tradition. My reindeer will be soaring from West Bay to South Sound, starting at Cayman Turtle Center at 5:30 p.m. Then stopping at West Bay Fire Station, Governor Square, Cardinal Avenue, Windsor Park, Country and Western and South Sound Dock. My elves will be giving away presents throughout the parade. So come on out and join the Christmas cheer, the Coca-Cola Christmas Parade, Tuesday, December 12th. And stay tuned for more details for Coca-Cola's festive celebrations for the Eastern Districts.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I go in flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Hello, Cayman. This is your Deputy Governor, Franz Manderson. As we start to experience cooler weather, we are seeing more and more walkers, runners, and cyclists on our streets. I applaud everyone who is taking the time to exercise outdoors. I want to encourage our cyclists to wear helmets while riding, reflective clothing and lights, and to avoid riding side by side when in groups. I also encourage our motorists to exercise caution when approaching our cyclists. Our government and its agencies are working to reduce accidents on our roads. Let us work together to keep each other safe on our roads.
I love Radio Cayman because it's all things Caymanian. It's my number one radio station. Wishing all our listeners a Merry Christmas from Laura Young and family.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record.
with Orrett Connor continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McPhail, Professor Livingston Smith, and President Emeritus of UCCI, Mr. Roy Borden. One of our listeners also, and Ms. Teresa is still on the phone line, right? One of our listeners also wrote and said, was it Panton that wanted to join Jamaica when Jamaica was going independent? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Thanks. And I responded to them. But I want to share these two paragraphs in Mr. Ormond's book, A Special Son, written by Dave Martins, who interviewed Mr. Ormond for this book. So Mr. Ormond directly contributed to the contents of this book. So on page 118, the pivotal years, and we'll come to that in terms of how pivotal what occurred changed the trajectory of the Cayman Islands. When it says here, now as internal self-government loomed for Cayman in 1961, Orman Panton, no longer naive about the conniving side of politics, was aware that his uncle Ernest was not the only person who wanted to deny him his chief minister ambitions. But he pressed on with the formation of Cayman's first substantial political party. A few years earlier, the Vanguard political party had come into existence in Georgetown with Spencer Rose, Val Anderson, and Warren Connolly as founders, but it had come to naught. In retrospect, the execution of a ministerial system was predicated on the existence of partisan politics. The UK had indicated as such, and indeed following the Lancaster House talks on federation, the British government had printed thousands of file jackets for Cayman with the heading of the various ministries as they would function under the coming system. Panton recalls seeing the piles of file jackets in a government house in Grand Cayman. There was going to be a chief minister, a minister for social services, a minister for trade, works and communications, and an attorney general. The intention was that the country would be run by these four in a council of ministers presided over by a lieutenant governor. He would have no vote, who would be appointed by Britain as after consultation with the chief minister. So that was what internal self-government was designed to look like.
Yes, and therefore Cayman was not going into independence with Jamaica.
Exactly, precisely.
That was a lie that Dr. Roy spun and told the people, and they believed it because there was an antagonism against Jamaica at the time, between Cayman and Jamaica. That antagonism went deep from slavery.
Yes.
When Cayman did not register their slaves, and when the money came, they did not get any money from it. And Jamaica got the money, and Caymanians were upset, and they sent a petition to the Queen, and in London, and then they sent down someone to register the slaves, and Cayman got their money. But that antagonism between Jamaica and Cayman had existed all of those years, even from before 1831.
Yes.
So the question that one of our listeners wrote and said, what is the present lasting effects of Mr. Panton's life? We have about 6 minutes before we go to our next commercial break. I'd like all of you to sort of contribute to that question, an answer to that question, the effect of Mr. Panton.
Well, let me tell you what I see the effects of. Mr. Panton left a legacy for those of us who are politically astute and have some feeling, some sense of a national spirit. Mm-hmm. He led us to believe that as Caymanians, we are capable of paddling our own canoe. Mm-hmm. We are capable of doing things for ourselves. And that's why his spirit is indomitable, it's eternal, and that's why people like myself, Dr. McPhail, Gilbert, Teresa, That's why we have identified him as our hero, as our political exemplar, because nobody that I know could let Mr. Ormond feel that he was less than. And so that's the spirit that we're trying to keep alive. We're trying to kindle, because I think it's worthwhile. And I sense now, even as we're on the cusp of nation building, that spirit is the proper spirit to lead us into where we want to go.
Doc?
And Mr. Ormond left a legacy of unity and a belief in our own competence. So much so that after Mr. Ormond, even before Mr. Ormond died, when his spirit was waning and he was just set back, I wrote a letter to the United Nations supporting Mr. Ormond's position for internal self-government. United Nations took my letter and turned it into a petition from an individual and circulated it in the United Nations to all the United people in the United Nations, and the British government, which is still the administering country, stated that I would not be welcome back into Cayman. That is, and you have the copies of all of those things.
Yes, we discussed it once.
We discussed
long time ago.
Discussed it. I was not welcome back here for many, many years. That is the legacy Mr. Ormond left. He left a legacy of integrity and the belief, and he also left in the words of the great leader from South Africa, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela said this: "You will not be a good leader. No person will be a good leader if they change their principles depending on who they're talking to at the time." That's what Nelson Mandela said. Mr. Ormond left that kind of legacy with me and people like Roy Borden and stuff, and that's why I love him. Every day, nearly, I think about him, and I think about all the contributions he made. We are the only country in the world that doesn't need a visa to go to the great America. That was one of the things he left behind for us too, that everybody's enjoying now. They came from all over the different parts of the world, and they go up, grab the waiver, and they don't even know how we obtained that privilege.
Yes.
That's right. That was one of the things Orman Panton
What
did.
about his children? You want to talk about that probably later on?
Pardon me?
His children.
Yes.
Yeah, it was children. Some of his children had to leave the country because Mr. Orman became the enemy of the establishment. Dr. Neela Panton left first, and you have to Google his name and you see where he is. His other boys left after he died. Kennedy and Dwight left. They left to preserve their professional integrity and their mental integrity, but because they know they could not make it in the country where a man so powerful had died, and had died broke because he spent all his money defending the not only himself but the Cayman people. I have here the West Indian reports, and in this you see all the cases that Mr. Ormond had to defend himself in Jamaica Court of Appeal of the arrests, just 10, 12 arrests from the not only from the Commissioner of Police but from the magistrate in the Cayman Islands that he had to defend himself from. He had to defend. They said nobody helped Mr. Ormond with that, and so even his children suffered after he died.
Yep. Okay, we're going to go to our headline news. When we return, this person has written in and said, this is a fantastic show. Can we have more and wider distribution of this, educating our population about our history and our culture? Need more in our schools, please. Love my teacher, Mr. Roy. He taught me in Junior 5 at Georgetown Primary School. He's an example of a great teacher. So when we return, we will have Professor Livingston Smith and Miss Teresa still on the line. Have them tell you and answer you in terms of what they're doing to ensure that this story continues to be told, and we hope that you will be able to participate in it as well. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
Police are investigating after a late-night shooting death. 911 confirms to Radio Cayman that a man was shot and killed in East End around 10 p.m. Thursday night, marking the fourth homicide of the year. No other injuries were reported. Make sure to stay with Radio Cayman as we follow this developing story. The U.S. Secretary of State says there's a, quote, gap between Israel's intent to protect civilians and how the war has been unfolding in Gaza. Anthony Blinken says, quote, it remains imperative that Israel put a premium on civilian protection. Israel insists it's taking steps to minimize civilian harm. Meanwhile, a UN official says the Israeli military offensive means there is no safe place left for aid agencies in southern Gaza. Tens of thousands of Palestinians have fled to Rafah near the border with Egypt as intense fighting continues in Khan Yunis. Israel has indicated it may open the Kerem Shalom crossing for goods inspections as part of efforts to increase aid supplies in Gaza, according to the U.S. Hamas attacked Israel in October, killing 1,200 people and taking 240 hostage. Since then, Hamas says Israel has killed more than 17,000 people in its retaliatory campaign. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
It's one of the best moments of your life when you welcome your baby into the world. The HSA's experienced women's health and maternity team provides the highest quality of care throughout your pregnancy and delivery. As a JCI accredited hospital, we are the leader in maternal care, safely delivering over 700 babies annually. Visit hsa.ky for more information. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. So I'm going to ask Ms. Teresa and Professor Livingston Smith to tell our listening audience and our viewing audience what the UCCI is doing to ensure that our history, our culture, that it's not only retained, but that people are aware of what has taken place and how they're able to participate in this, especially in this particular one, knowing about our late national hero, Orman Panton.
I certainly will, OC. For this particular lecture, we have an essay competition in different age groups. For example, we sent this out to all the schools and to all the colleges. So for the tertiary segment, age 17 to 25, we have 4 essay topics they can write on, and then a monetary reward for if they do well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read through very quickly the topics for the tertiary students. Number 1, the life and times of Orman Panton. A story of tenacity, patriotism, nationalism, and heroism. They can for discussion. Number 2, Panton's early life and nationalistic fervor shaped the politician he became. All of these are for examination, essay-style examination. To what extent is it true to say that Orman Panton was one of the most impactful figures in Cayman's history? To what extent do you agree with Dave Martin's assessment of Orman Panton that this was a man in whom the fires burned a little brighter, a little longer, a little more intensely than they burn in most of us, end of quote. For the secondary level, ages 12 to 16, give an overview of Orman Panton's life and then discuss in detail clashes with the English, British officials at Cayman. Number 2, in what ways do you believe Orman Panton most contributed to Cayman's development? 3, how did race, class, and circumstances impact the life and accomplishments of Orman Panton? And for the primary level, 9 to 11, outlined the role that Orman Panton played in the politics of the Cayman Islands. Number 2, to what extent is it true to say that Orman Panton was one of the most impactful figures in Cayman's history? But apart from these essays that we have sent out for competition, we are planning to go to the schools to educate students about these issues, culture and history. We're launching poster competitions, video competition. In fact, there is a documentary being put together on Orman Panton, persons who knew him, and this documentary is being done. Dr. Ivan from UCCI and the UCCI television.
Okay.
But it's going to become part of the legacy of Panton. We're going to be doing pamphlets and with information about these things that you can go through some very interesting ways, flyers, posters, and things like that. Dr. Kadisha Swearing from UCCI has an entire committee of us working on that at UCCI. All right. So again, I want to go back to the fact that there's this lecture coming up, OC, on the 18th of January. Please place it in your calendars. It's 6 o'clock at the UCCI Sir Vassal Johnson Hall, and the presenter will be Professor Nathan Conley. The lecture is entitled Letters from the Ancestors, Family, History, Political Economy, and the Future of the Cayman Islands. So come there, you'll find the persons who have won the essay competition. We give a little summary of the essays. You'll get a peek into the documentary, and of course the lecture will be the kind of icing on the cake for that evening.
Okay, Miss T, you're there still. Miss Susan, can we link up with Miss Teresa, please?
Yeah, I think I'm still here.
Okay, yep, we're hearing you. Go right ahead.
Right. I'll just touch on the question that was raised by one of the listeners. And the thing is, I'm going to say, I don't know how this will impact our community. And here is, in as much as we are in that rare fork in our history, as Mr. Orman said, from the time I can remember, I was struck by the timidity of the Caymanian people. Even the attitude of grown men, like my father and my uncles, towards these overlords like the Commissioner Cardinal and Dr. Overton. They were afraid of these people. Most people were. They would practically bow down before them, and that just didn't sit well with me. I respected you as long as you respected me, and I never felt subservient. And this is the hope that igniting and sparking the interest of our younger people, not to suggest that it's only younger people that you want to get engaged in this dialogue, but it's an opportunity now to look at our history, to see where we are, and look at someone who wasn't hypocritical. He was never, when he was bullied, he never capitulated. He never tolerated the bigotry that we see now. So we now have an opportunity to dive deeply into one of our sacred persons who we respect and see how he did it. There was an incident when he was about 12 or 13 when he was going to school, and there was something that one of the students did. They threw something and it impacted the principal at the time. And the principal asked him if he did it, and Mr. Orman said, no, I didn't do it. Now, he knew who did it, and the person who did it watched on and said nothing. They watched as the teacher beat Mr. Orman in front of all of them, and he was a small little guy. His father, when he discovered what transpired at school, came and gave him another thrashing in front of everyone, and the same student that did this thing said absolutely nothing. And, when I hear of these stories and, when he would recant some of these experiences that he went, you start to see who this person really was from the time he was little. In fact, he refused to return to that Presbyterian school, and his dad had no choice but to relent and to take him to another school. But this is who the character was. This is this man at his core. So I am hoping that, when we start to see that we do have people like that in our history, not just Roy and Steve, you know, we are the ones that have consistently put our necks on the line, but there are others out there. And if there aren't others, let's find out who they are, but start with one of ours and try to know a little bit about him. So that's kind of like, you know, when the person say, well, how does this impact us going forward? I don't know, because I don't know how this will affect our community. Because remember, we're small, we're very sensitive to certain issues. And when you unearth history, history will tell you stuff that you don't want to hear. But are we going to be courageous enough to embrace this history and move on?
You know, I sense the struggle we're in now. We're in a battle for the soul of Cayman.
That's right.
And we can't afford to lose this battle. We can't afford to lose this battle because we're fighting against forces that we should not have to fight against. The bigots of our own society, among our own Caymanians, who can't see the forest for the trees because they can't see the big picture because they're only looking at the next 4 years. Those with vision, like Mr. Ormond, were looking at the next generation and beyond. And so that's our limitation. I see it play out every day, and the victimization into the people who Mr. Ormond left behind, like Dr. McField and all those other people. I call us the children of Sisyphus. That's who we are.
And a lot of people don't even remember that Mr. Ormond was one of the most powerful men at the time in Cayman. He was the chairman of the Public Service Commission. He was once the chair of Cayman Airways, and he was also chairman of the Immigration Board,
Caymanian
Protection Board.
Yes.
And when he made the decisions, like that guy making today, they had to go. Like me had to go. I had to go too. And so the problem is that you cannot make decisions for your own people when you have so many outside influences against you. And a lot of people do not understand Mr. Ormond's contribution to the law also. Mr. Ormond was also a lawyer, and he was one of the founding members of the Caymanian Bar Association. And Mr. Borden, you remember when we started this conversation this morning, I was reminding you of how that started. Right. That started with when the government back in 1988 tried to change the drugs law, right, to shift the burden of proof from the Crown to the defendant. And you got a petition with 3,300 names on it, and we gathered behind the library and marched to Government House, yes, to present the petition to the governor to say this can't happen. And when we asked some of the other lawyers who were in the Law Society to join us, they said, it's not our fight, it's your fight. And it's from that we got together. I did the first draft of the Bar Association memorandum or articles, and we met at Mr. Ormond's office. And we call it, and one of the conditions that you had to be Caymanian born. And when we sent the copy up to the executive councils to get authorization as a non-profit organization, they said they wouldn't accept it because they had to include lawyers that had Caymanian status. Yes. And we eliminated the Caymanian born only, and we put in what the government wanted, and we launched it at Mr. Ormond's office that evening, and we sent an invitation out to all the expatriate lawyers. And when they came, this is what they said to us: why you want to have a different association? We have the Law Society and so forth. We don't need two associations here. And Mr. Ormond said that evening, one of the reasons why, because of the law that they contemplated, the fact that we have a law school, and the fact that lawyers had made the remarks that we are only going to put them in a corner in a desk in a corner so that we can get work permits for our law firms. Mr. Ormond said those are some of the reasons why we need to have a bar association. Mr. Ormond was the first president. I was the first vice president. Orrin Merrin was the secretary, and Peter Polak was the treasurer. And from then, they started to undermine the Caymanian Bar Association. Then they went to say that we should amalgamate with them. And today, tell me where the Caymanian Bar Association today. It's gone. It does not exist any longer. We even had the Orman Panton Prize for the Law Student of the Year. They cut that out too. They didn't want even anything to remember him by. So that is what happens in our society when you had great men like Orman Panton who stands up for the integrity and for the rights of the Caymanian people, because he was one of the first people for civil rights of the Caymanian people, because most of the cases that went to the Court of Appeal was for his civil rights.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we're going to try to link up with Mr. Gilbert McLean as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our custom closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
'Twas the days before Christmas in Digicel stores near and far. Stockings were hung with the best tweenie deals by far. A 27-day bundle, it was quite an appeal. With 2 gigabytes any use data, it made Roblox so real. YouTube and Disney Plus, oh what a delight. Boys and girls were entertained from morning till night. Endless messaging, a connection so dear. Staying in touch with parents, oh what a cheer. Visit a Digicel store today, where dreams come true this holiday season.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I go in flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old girl.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
It's a celebration under the stars with Christmas at the Castle. Sunday, December 10th. Gather with friends and family on the great lawn at Pedro St. James Castle from 6 until 9 p.m. and celebrate the reason for the season with Christmas carols, storytelling, and a visit from Santa. Enjoy local food and drinks on sale, a raffle giveaway, performances by local artists, and a most memorable night at Christmas at the Castle. This Sunday, December 10th from 6 until 9 p.m. Admission is free. Christmas at the Castle is brought to you in partnership with Tortuga Rum Company, Kirk Freeport, and Custom Concepts. For more information, call 947-3329 or email admin@pedrostjames.ky.
Hello, I am Kato Lee, President of the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens. On behalf of the Board of Directors and members of the club, we say thank you to the community for your continued support as we serve. May this season bring you joy, peace, cherished fellowship with family and friends, and miracles to delight your heart. Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year from the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with us us, we have Dr. Steve McPhail, Professor Livingston Smith, and President Emeritus of UCCI, Mr. Roy Borden. We have on the phone Mr. Gilbert McLean, who is the chair
of the Board
of Governors of the UCCI as well. And I believe we still have Ms. Teresa Pitcairn on the line as well. We're going to go to Mr. McLean. Mr. McLean, good morning, sir. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor, and good morning to all of those good folks that I have just heard you name there. First of all, allow me to say that I thank Dr. Livingstone for having put together this forum and Radio Cayman accommodating it. And I also salute Dr. Livingstone in that he has perhaps done more to keep history in focus, Cayman history, Caribbean, and otherwise, than many here in this country. And I really do appreciate that, because I am one who believes that if we don't know our history, we really don't know where we were or where we are going, or can we learn from it. But Mr. Ormond, I will always treasure the opportunity of knowing him and interacting with him, and I'll give a few sketches of what my time and from knowing Mr. Ormond from early times. And my first recollections of him was when I was a young boy going to church with my grandmother in Bodden Town, and I heard that there was a political meeting in the Bodden Town Town Hall. So when the church was out, I would take off and go way ahead so I could go and peep through the windows by the Bodden Town Town Hall. And the first time I saw Mr. Ormond was this tall, 6-foot-odd man, lanky man, and stabbing the air with a forefinger and declaring, they don't frighten Orman Panton. And, after that, as I grew up and you go into adulthood and so on, I followed him and had the opportunity of knowing him quite well right up until when his passing. And there's a few things that sticks out in my mind. When I used to be self-employed doing civic and government consultancy over there in the A.L. Thompson building, he and I would have these occasions when he would call me and said, "McLean, I give you 15 minutes to be here by my office." And of course, he didn't tell me what I had to be there for, but I humbly always went because I knew it was going to be a treat where he was going to be telling me about times that he had seen and known and been through, like his engagements with Commissioner Gerard and various things that happened politically. And it was on one of those occasions where he gave me some documents and said to me, "Do you know that Cayman could have been independent and from way back in 1961, as I recall right now?" And he gave me documents then that showed that it was on offer that Cayman could have become self-governing. And it was at that time when the changes were coming about with Jamaica. Well, of course, Jamaica went independent in 1962. So I heard some discussion earlier that said about Cayman being a dependency of Jamaica, and that's not the case. It was allowed. Jamaica was allowed to administer the Cayman Islands by permission of the British, which was a whole different thing, unlike the impression that we were wholly owned and sold and a dependency of Jamaica. We could hardly depend on them, and they were a dependency themselves on England. So I think it should be distinguished as to what is the correct situation there. But those documents, I have them somewhere, exactly where, I don't know, but I recall giving copies of it to Ms. Georgette Myrie at the time in the Legislative Assembly. Perhaps it's in the archives, I don't know, but I hope so. But, just to also say, Mr. Connor, that I think that where we are failing right now as a people and a society, we don't know our history, and I am not sure that we even teach our history in the schools. I've been trying to truly find this out, but I don't know. Maybe a smattering of it, but we need to be proud. We should be one of the proudest people on the face of this earth. A small population, 4,000 or 5,000, who kept ourselves alive by turtling and all the rest of it, going to sea and whatnot. Every island in the Caribbean is proud of their history and teaches their history. Beside us, it seems, and I that's still my hope. Well, I could also say one of the things that connected me with Mr. Orman, and he knew about me because I was a younger person, but the fact that Mr. Orman was an anti-colonialist, and he knew I was one too, in which I will continue to be till I exit planet Earth. And it was not in a question of hatred or anything of the sort, but it is a matter of self-respect. And I heard Teresa earlier speak or read from something that said about how we have a tendency to bow down and so on. That was not the way of Orman Panton, and certainly not any way that I want to subscribe to and have never done myself. But he had qualities. What is his legacy? I think his legacy is that he was a man that stood up for his rights. He demanded respect. He gave respect. He didn't bow down. And that is what I believe that Mr. Orman wanted to leave, because I heard him on many occasions talk about the fact that Caymanians seem to have lost that attitude, that ability to be proud of who we are, what we had accomplished. But and really look at it up until now. What is the latest figures? I hear 130 different nationalities. They're not going to some other island in the Caribbean. They're coming to the Cayman Islands. We got to be something special, and I think it's something that we, as a people, need to take a pause and think about, you know. So I think that's a legacy that he left. And the other thing I remember him for as well, he was a major advocate of the Caymanian protection law. And I think it was Dr. Matfield who spoke of the different positions that he held. And I remember well in 1976 when the Unity team lost, and he and Jim Borden were really close buddies. And I saw him the day, and he said, "Well, you know, McLean, I've tendered my resignation as chairman of the protection board." So I said, "Well, Mr. Orman, why'd you do that?" He says, "Well, I can tell you this, young man." He says, "I was appointed by Jim Borden and the Unity team, and the right thing to do is when another government takes over, I should tender my resignation. Whether or not they ask me to stay on, I don't know, but I think I'm going to leave anyway." So that was the type of person that I know Mr. Orman to be. And for those Caymanians who are so minded, and hopefully it will grow, we need to have that kind of pride, that kind of nationalistic feeling, that kind of patriotic feeling, where we want to respect ourselves, understanding that we should respect ourselves. We have every reason to be respected, because if the world isn't moving here in person, they're moving here in financial movements, because we have become a major location in the world for financial dealings. But just to finish my thoughts on Mr. Orman Panton, he deserved to be a national hero for the things that he stood for the things that he accomplished during his lifetime. And hopefully, you know, our talk now, for those of us who knew him, we might inspire some younger minds to realize who he was and who we or they can be to carry on that legacy.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Mr. McLean. We're going to go to a commercial break, but I will follow up what Mr. McLean has just said with a quote from A Special Son, written by David Martins in collaboration with Mr. Orman Panton. And he's quoted as saying, this was the latter years, and he says, "I will never be happy until these islands are Caymanian, not only in name, but in fact. Anything less than that is not acceptable to me." Folks, we're going to take our last commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
It's Santa here. Join me and my elves for the Coca-Cola Christmas Truck Parade on Tuesday, 12th December. It's Grand Cayman's cheeriest Christmas tradition. My reindeer will be soaring from West Bay to South Sound, starting at Cayman Turtle Center at 5:30 p.m. Then stopping at West Bay Fire Station, Governor Square, Cardinal Avenue, Windsor Park, Country and Western and South Sound Dock. My elves will be giving away presents throughout the parade. So come on out and join the Christmas cheer, the Coca-Cola Christmas Parade, Tuesday, December 12th. And stay tuned for more details for Coca-Cola's festive celebrations for the Eastern Districts.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our custom closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. I think I did say that we were taking our last commercial break, but we will have another one at 9:45, and then we're going to try to close off at 9:50. We're talking with Dr. Steve McPhail, Professor Livingston Smith, President Emeritus of the UCCI, Mr. Roy Borden. We have Ms. Teresa Pitcairn on the line, and we have the President of the Board...
Chairman.
Chairman, of the Board of Governors of UCCI, Mr. Gilbert McLean, on the phone as well. Just want to share one comment from one of our listeners. It says, the late, great Mr. Panton is lamenting now the lack of spine amongst locals, especially men who know better but abuse their position and subjects for personal gain. Even worse, for the benefit of newcomers who paid to play the Cayman game. I know and spent time in his office talking as a teen, mostly him questioning me. So the person shared that with us as well. So what we want to, again, remind our listeners and our viewers, the whole purpose of this discussion and talking about the Distinguished Lecture Series and the competitions, various competitions taking place as well.
Excellent. Thank you, OC. So, again, the main event is the lecture itself on January 18th, Thursday, at 6 p.m. We're inviting everybody to come out. It would be at the Sir Vassal Johnson Hall, and the lecturer is Professor Nathan Connolly, who has Caymanian background. He's the Herbert Baxter Adams Associate Professor of History at Johns Hopkins University, and he will speak on the topic Letters from the Ancestors, Family History, Political Economy, and the Future of the Cayman Islands. And this is the Orman Panton inaugural lecture. So if you come early for that lecture, you will get a copy of the book that OC is reading from, A Special Son, A Unique and Gripping Life by David Martins. And I want to just give a very important thank you to the Minister of Education, who was very interested in this project and who is funding it, to the Minister of Education, to Mr. Jerome McCoy, who's in charge of tertiary education. And also thank the members of the UCCI Distinguished Lectures Committee, Dr. Ivan Eubanks, Dr. Swearing, Lawrence Cooper, and Mr. Glenn Inango. I want to also emphasize that we have an essay competition. We're going to go to the schools about the ideas we're proposing here, because we believe that a society is also built by historical knowledge, by self-knowledge. Know yourself, know your history. That's also imperative. So that's part of what we're trying to do here.
Okay. And I just want to say that we can have a similar arrangement before the 18th, so that we can highlight this again.
I want to bring the speaker here before he actually speaks. Yes.
Excellent. We haven't heard from Ms. Teresa in quite a while. Ms. T, you still there? Ms. Teresa?
Yep.
You still there? Okay. Let's hear from you a little bit now.
Yeah, so I'm about to jump as well,
okay.
But what Steve didn't say and ought to have said is that the changes and the negative, a number of the negative changes that we see now coming out of the immigration experience, this was not done by foreigners on their own. We need to own that many of us as Caymanians brought this belt to our backs. And that is something we need. I remember there was a conversation that some senior members of the financial industry was having with our leadership. And they made it clear, none of us don't sit on any immigration board. The members of the immigration board are all Caymanians. The people who are elected are all Caymanian people. I just wanted to say that. And a final thought about Mr. Ormond, about what his legacy can be. He said, I guess you could say that Orman Panton is too hot-headed, while most Caymanians are too docile. I suppose that if I had not been so outspoken and willing to look the other way, I might have become a very wealthy man. But it upsets me that I'm not leaving my children well off financially. And he says, Dwight keeps telling me, I made sure, however, that they had a very good education. Of course, to end up wealthy, I would have to be the kind of person that I am not. So that's a price I was unwilling to pay. And I would do it again if I had to do it over. And that is the character, that is the core of this man. And at some point, to touch on what Roy was saying about this kind of sleepwalking that we're doing and the search for the soul of the Caymanians, we have to address this sour cynicism and political apathy that we have. this kind of cultural escapism that leads us into this place where we don't care. So that's what I would hope, that at the end of this conversation and what we're trying to do through the academics with UCCI, I'm hoping that we're going to ignite that spirit and give it some meaning. And on that note, I want to wish everybody a happy weekend from Cayman Brack. Cayman Brack is thebomb.com. So have a very good weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ms. T. We're going to give Mr. McLean an opportunity, for some closing comments as well. Mr. McLean.
Thank you, O.C. I really welcome the opportunity to offer the remarks I did about Mr. Orman Panton. There was one person like him or similar to him that I had the privilege and the honor of working with, and that's the late Jim Borden. I was his permanent secretary, and I know that he and Mr. Ormond had very similar views. Jim Borden loved the Cayman Islands, and he understood clearly who was a Caymanian, and those who didn't understand that, he made them understand it pretty fast, and I know that was the way with Mr. Ormond as well. But following on what Teresa has said, I do hope that which was lost can be found again, and we now have to look for the younger generation to come along and realize what we are, where we are, and so on, because the older among us will be pushing off sooner or later, and for it to carry on, it got to be for the younger generation, and what will inform and educate them is these type of discussions. And again, I thank Roy for his writings, which he has put it in writing. It's one of the few Caymanian, if not the only one, that has done so, that tells the story. And his works, among other books, including A Native Son, is the type of literature that needs to be in the hands of young Caymanians that's now studying and need to be given the encouragement to be who they are, to stand up, to understand that there are certain rights that all of us human beings have, and not be afraid to stand up and demand that we get them, the respect that we can give to others, and we have the right to demand that respect for ourselves. And Steve has been now for years carrying on in the legacy, I think, of Mr. Panton, because he has gotten enough blows over the years, but boy, he just won't give up. So I just want to thank him and salute him for being the person that he is as well. But overall, OC, I think the following the attitude of Mr. Orman Panton for us as a people is something that is positive and would make a whole lot of difference in us as a people and as a society. And thanks once again for having the opportunity of saying something as I have.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. McLean. Before we go to the commercial break, I'll just read one more contribution from one of our listeners. This person said, I'm listening, so happy with your topic. Mr. Orman was my childhood neighbor, although at the time I didn't realize that I lived next to this giant. I've always been trying to tell Caymanian people about him and the magnitude of his actions and service to our country. Unfortunately, the majority still prefer to believe the myth that it was MacTaggart that, quote-unquote, saved us. This is truly sad. We don't just know our history, we prefer to ignore it for reasons I don't have to state. Thank you all for enlightening those who want to learn. He will always be my national hero. Want to thank the caller for that as well. So we're going to go to our around the table to get our final comments from each of our panelists here. We'll start with Dr. Macfield, then we'll have Mr. Roy Borden and Professor Livingston Smith to cap it all off by reminding our listeners and viewers of what will be taking place. So, Doc, quick recap from you.
What I'd like to say is that Mr. O.L. Panton's passion was self-determination and justice for his people. Those were his greatest passions. Those are also my passions too. And I would like to say that one must act on their passions and being honest without with themselves and being honest with their beliefs and their belief system, because God is everywhere and God is everything. And that's what I would like to leave the young people with.
Okay. Mr. Borden.
You know, Mr. Ormond's legacy can best be summed up by these words from a famous poem. A Psalm of Life by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow says, "Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time." I often wonder, why is it that we as a Caymanian people, coming from such a rich and storied background, insist on sacrificing our principles to obtain a result that is not lasting? And the more I ponder, is the more I realize how far some of us have been led astray. Thank God we have role models like Mr. Ormond that can anchor those of us who are more sobered, who understand that the future is not in selling out our position, our country, our constituents, or the people who believe in us. Not in selling them out, but in living according to the standards and the principles of our ancestors. And it's unfortunate that some of us have chosen that path, and we are destined to die poor in terms of material possessions, and probably our progeny will not have the easiest time. But like Mr. Ormond, that's the route I have chosen, and I would never do anything different. He's my hero too.
Okay.
Right, and my role is to get back to the... but this is really wonderful.
It is.
We want to engage it in education. In this particular sense, we want to correct the narrative, really, about Panton and to educate the society about his contribution. And so the lecture is January 18th, so please put it down in your diary. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the 18th. The Professor Connolly is going to be lecturing.
And that's a Connolly with Caymanian connections,
Definitely. And if you come, you'll also have the opportunity of getting a book that we invite you to read. You will see the documentary that we're doing on Panton. You'll see the persons who have won the essay competition, things like that. I want to also thank again the Minister of Education. I want to thank the Panton family. Dr. Neil Panton is sponsoring the efforts. And the credit union was very excited about the idea. And we are interested in other corporate sponsors because this is the first of many to come, lectures to come and education to come on that. So thank you, OC. We look forward to coming back here to continue the conversation. Thanks so much.
I certainly look forward to it as well. And based on the feedback that we have been receiving from our listening and viewing audience, they want to hear more, as well. And again, I want to thank you all, for being here. If I don't see some of you, all the best for the holidays. But we in the month of January, I'm not sure when For the Record resumes, but we're going to make sure that we put something on the calendar that we can have this discussion, talk more about January the 18th as well. I want to thank Ms. Theresa and Mr. Gilbert McLean as well. I want to thank all of those folks out there who have been listening, who have been contributing, with their WhatsApp messages and everything as well. I want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. We always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. And in this season of giving, we're asking you to be even more considerate to the less fortunate in our society. So I urge you to continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dreamx at 12:15 for Talk Today. Don't forget that Radio Cayman 105.3 will be... 89.9. On 89.9, we will be carrying the proceedings of our Parliament live and direct from Radio Cayman, and it will be repeated tonight on 89.9 as well. Those of you who have the opportunity to go out there for this, again, historic occasion for our meeting of Parliament as well. Have a great day. Please stay safe. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
A house isn't a home without the perfect furnishings and decor. At Robert Wood Furniture and Design, we have everything your home deserves. Shop now for incredible store-wide savings up to 50% off on sofas, beds, dining tables, and chairs. Or ask about our custom furnishing options and interior design services. Find the perfect gift ideas with accent pillows and vases starting at just $10. Lamps as low as $20. Whether it's kitchen and bathroom remodeling to flooring and window treatments, lighting, fans, furniture, and home decor, Robert Wood Furniture and Interiors has all you need this Christmas. Visit our website, robertwoodky.com. Like, follow, and share our page on Facebook and Instagram, Robert Wood Furniture and Interiors, or swing by our store at Cayman Center, Owen Roberts Drive. Wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and a prosperous and healthy New Year.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
'Twas the days before Christmas in Digicel stores near and far. Stockings were hung with the best tweeny deals by far. A 27-day bundle, it was quite an appeal. With 2 gigabytes any use data, it made Roblox so real. YouTube and Disney Plus, oh what a delight. Boys and girls were entertained from morning till night. Endless messaging, a connection so dear. Staying in touch with parents, oh what a cheer. Visit a Digicel store today, where dreams come true this holiday season.
Start your day in the know. Don't miss a beat. Radio Cayman's 7 a.m. news keeps you informed every Monday through Saturday at 7 a.m. Brought to you by Cayman National, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974.
In order to facilitate pipeline improvement works in the area, Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise motorists and other road users that one of the 2 southbound lanes of North Sound Road between Portland Road and Shedden Road will be diverted into the turn middle lane on Sunday the 10th of December from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Traffic signs will be posted in the general vicinity, and all motorists are asked to drive cautiously to ensure your safety and that of the Water Authority staff. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of the motoring public and do apologize for any inconvenience this may cause.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.